What's up, guys? Welcome to my first episode. We're going to be talking about how to shoot in low light. As photographers, filmmakers, we paint our canvases with light, and how do you do that when you don't have enough light to work with? So we're going to head out, we're going to get some real-world examples here, and then come back and talk about some of the settings and tricks you can use. So let's get going. What's up, guys? We're here in Fort Collins. It's cold, it's night. Just talking about setting up scenes after hours, how to film your footage in the dark. So let's get to it. Dark can be a massive challenge. You're losing all that natural light. One of the best tips I use is to find ambient light, environmental lights, like these lights up above me, ground lights. Try and stand near neon signs if you can find them if you're downtown. But it really does make a big difference. Another thing you could do is to use a fast lens. I'm using a 2.8 on this. Really helps to open that aperture up, let more light in, makes a big difference. Also, check this out. Who puts an emergency shut-off button in public? That is asking for people to press that. All right, that was fun. So let's go check out the settings. All right, so one of the biggest things you want to watch out for when shooting in low light is the temptation to crank your ISO up. ISO is adding digital light to your image, but your camera can only do so much there. So once you get to a certain point, it's going to start adding a bunch of noise and really just look terrible. So one of the biggest things you want to watch out for, high ISO values. I know it's tempting, don't do it. You want to stick 1600 or below is going to be a sweet spot. It depends on your camera's sensitivity, but really kind of take a look at that. Definitely review your footage. It helps if you can pull it to a computer as soon as possible while you still have time to recompose, but definitely steer clear of high ISO values. Okay, so there's a couple other values you want to take a look at when you're shooting for low light situations. First, you want to be working with that fast lens I mentioned earlier. The lower the better. Ideally, you want to be going as 2.8, 1.8 if you've got a prime lens. That's really going to open that aperture up wide. It's going to allow more light to get into the camera and give you greater low light performance overall. The other thing you want to look at is your shutter speed. And your shutter speed, if you're shooting video, should always be double what your frame rate is. So if you're shooting 24 frames per second, you're going to want to shoot about 1/50th of a second or 1/60th of a second to double that and really get that smooth cinematic feel. Also, when you're shooting photography, what you're going to look at here is get your camera shutter speed low, but don't go too low. You're going to get motion blur if you go too low. 1/50th of a second, 1/60th of a second, that's going to be ideally as low as you want to go, even with image stabilization. Image stabilization is great. If you have it turned it on, it's going to give you a few additional stops. But when you get below 1/50th of a second, 1/60th of a second, you're going to start running into motion blur, star trails. Things are just not going to look as crisp and as clean. All right, so ideally, keep it 1/50th, 1/60th of a second. As long as you keep it within those range values, you're going to do great. Your images are going to look crisp. and find those natural sources of light. Look for signs, look for overhead lights, look for restaurant patios that have great lighting. You're really going to get better results. You're going to be able to really bring out the values. Alright guys, so thanks for sticking with me. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe my video. I know you hear that a lot on YouTube, but that really does help me, especially as a new filmmaker, new YouTube content creator. It helps me to get established. So I appreciate it. Look forward to having you back for the next video, and keep on shooting. I'd love to see your results. Share them in the comments.